Hello, my name is Elizabeth Hauser, and welcome to my fourth set of book critiques. I can't wait to help you find your next literary adventure. My feature text for this set is The Little Island by Margaret Wise Brown and illustrated by Leonard Weisgard. All alone in the middle of the deep blue sea, a little island stands. But this tiny island is far from deserted. All manner of plants, birds, insects, and sea creatures rely on the island to survive. And underneath the waters of the sea, the island's secret lies. For in truth, the island is not isolated, but connected to all the rest of the earth. I chose this book as my feature text because I really love the illustrations in it, and I also found that the prose was very beautiful and it had a really rich underlying meaning. My first lesson with this text is a 4th grade religion and language arts lesson. In this lesson, students will explore their uniqueness as created in God's image. In the first part of this lesson, students will participate in a discussion about the deeper meaning of the book, The Little Island, and particularly emphasize the metaphor of the island in the book. After a time of reflection, students will write a journal entry explaining how they are at the same time involved in their community but also their own individual person. They will transform their journals into biteable videos, and then they will share their videos with at least 2 peers and engage in giving constructive feedback. With parental permission, these videos will be shared at the local pro-life conference during breaks in the schedule. My next lesson is a 5th grade science lesson. In this lesson, students will study the interdependence of organisms within an ecosystem. Working in pairs, students will choose one of the live cams on explore.org to observe for 5 to 10 minutes. They will take note of the different organisms that they observe. Next, they will do online research on the ecosystems that they observed. They will particularly focus on the connections between different organisms and try to develop ideas for how they could create a food web. Next, using MindMaster, an online mind mapping tool, students will create their food web. They will try to make as many connections between organisms as possible. Students will share their food web on Padlet and include information about different producers, consumers, and decomposers that they have on their food web. Lastly, a local zoologist will be given access to the Padlet and will read, reply, and make suggestions to students about how they could make other connections in their food web. And now I'm going to show you what the MindMaster map looks like in the Padlet. So here is what the Padlet looks like, and then I'm going to show you the MindMaster. Here is the MindMaster. There's the link to the live cam that I chose to watch to create this. And then here are the different organisms all connected together, and also a list of my sources that I used to create this mind map. My next book in this set is from the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil E. Frankweiler. I remember reading this book when I was in 3rd grade, but I didn't remember that much about it, and it actually has a really fascinating storyline, so if you haven't read it, I recommend that you check it out. Mirette on the High Wire is about a little girl growing up in Paris 100 years ago. She discovers that a guest at her mother's boarding house is a tightrope walker, and she's fascinated and she wants to learn how to do what he does. But he's scared to teach her because he's scared of actually falling off. And so this book is about him facing his fears and how she helps him to do that. And I think this book would appeal to any adventurous boy or girl. Snow by Uri Shulevitz is a story that is told mostly through illustrations. I really enjoyed how subtle the story progression was and how closely I had to pay attention to the details in the illustrations to see what was going to happen next. April's Kittens is a book with charming illustrations and a retro feel. Song of the Swallows by Leo Politi features the story of a young boy and his older mentor who take care of the gardens of San Juan de Capistrano. I really felt like the illustrations of this book transported me to the missions, and I felt like I was right there in the story. Interrupting Chicken by David Ezra Stein. This book is so much fun to read. I read it to myself and then I had to go find someone else that I could share it with. I can't wait to read this book in my class to my students. Duke Ellington is a book that illustrations and words go so perfectly together. I really felt like the words sang and rocked with rhythm. Thank you for watching this book set and happy reading.